Welcome, everybody, back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. For today's episode, we're going to be doing our second round of prospect rankings. We're going to be going over the top 30 in 3 segments. Yesterday, we dropped 21 to 30. Today, we're going to be going over 11 through 20. And then on Monday, we're going to be going over 1 through 10, doing our top 10, which will be very fun because I think it's going to be a lot different than a lot of websites, a lot different than MLB.com. But today's list is actually a lot different too. So with all that said, Chase, you want to get us started and start going through these prospects 20 to 11?
Yes, and to start off the list at number 20, it's going to be a little controversial just because of other top 30 prospect lists. We have this guy a lot lower than most analysts and other top 30 prospect lists. At number 20, we have Reese Kinnear. Everybody knows Reese Kinnear. He pitched on the MLB roster for a little bit. Didn't really have any chance to start. Mostly just went a couple innings. Came out as a reliever occasionally. I do think he may have closed one game. We know what he is. He's fastball, slider. I believe he throws an occasional changeup. We have him just because we've seen what he has. We kind of see where his career is going to go. It looks like he's going to be one of those guys that's probably going to end up being a 4th or 5th starter on most teams. And his career numbers in the minor leagues just aren't all that good. They're top 10 worthy in our eyes. And, we have him pretty low compared to other ones, but this is where we think he belongs. At number 19, we have Brandon Valenzuela, the left-handed catcher. He had himself a little breakout season last year. He got promoted to, I believe, Fort Wayne, and then he had a little bit of regression compared to where he was in just regular A-ball. Though, guy has a lot of potential still. He's only 21 years old, and he's got a pretty good swing. Hopefully, his defense starts to catch up with his bat, because if it doesn't, we're gonna have like another Campusano where his bat's MLB ready, but defensively, there's gonna be some question marks still there. But I think Brandon Valenzuela is just a little bit better of a defender than Campusano. Now, number 18, we have Eggy. He's another one of those guys that was in most prospects top 10 lists. He's a little undersized, and we don't know where he's going to be with the future of this team. The infield's completely blocked. He doesn't hit for a lot of power, and that's sort of where the game has been evolving to. You got to hit it over people, got to hit it over the outfield, got to hit it over fences. It's all about OPS and slugging. And for a guy that doesn't really hit for power, and this infield is sort of blocked, you got Cronenworth, you got Abrams, you got Tatis and Machado that are all going to be there for the foreseeable future. He's more than likely just going to be trade bait, not knocking the talent, just he's not a right fit for us. At number 17, we have Lazaraga. He didn't have the best season last year. He had like a 5 ERA, but scouts and the Padres are hoping that as he continues to grow, he's going to gain more velocity. He's going to gain better command and better control of his pitches. Just last year, he had an all right year. Okay for a guy's first year. We're going to hope that he makes strides, maybe bump that down to like a 3.5 ERA, gain some velocity, and if not better control of his, if not the pitches break more than they were last year. And number 16, we have Daniel Montesino. For those who haven't kept up with the international draft, this kid is one that you guys should watch this year. Guy is 17 years old, came out of the Dominican Republic along with Samuel Zavala. Those are the two that came out from the Dominican Republic. He's an outfielder. He's a lefty. And he debuted last year in the Dominican Summer League. He had 318, had a 444 slugging, on base percentage, and then even a higher slugging. The guy raked throughout the entire summer. In 56 games, he had over a 900 OPS. The guy raked at 17 years old. So he's going to make his minor league debut this year, probably in either the AZL or Rookie League. If not, they might be able to promote him to Class A after maybe 10, 15 games to see where he's at. But he's a guy definitely you need to keep an eye out on. Number 15, Brian Medina. He kind of fell, if you look at just his stats, he kind of fell under the same way that Victor Lazaraga did. However, it's one of those things where he only 5 innings in one league and had an 18 ERA, and then got transferred to another league where he pitched much better. He ended up having like a 3.77 ERA in 30 innings pitched. No, in 28 innings pitched. However, he struck out 44 people, but along with those strikeouts, he walked, I believe, 21, if not 22. So in his case, the talent's there. He can pitch well. If he limits the walks, he could be a force to be reckoned with. He's already striking out guys at a high clip. He's hitting high 90s when he needs to. He's sitting mid 90s, has a good call and slider. If he limits the walks, we could easily see him shoot himself in the top 10 range, if not just right outside of it. After that, we have Ethan Elliott at 14. Ethan Elliott, he's just been a really solid arm throughout his minor league career. He's getting older up there. He's 24. He's a left-handed pitcher. We've always seen him as a depth piece for whenever we needed him. We kind of saw it last year. We thought maybe he might come up, but I believe he dealt with some injury. And this year, I believe he's going to start off in AA, if not get promoted to AAA. He's just probably going to be another one of those depth pieces. Hopefully we see his MLB debut this year, see what he has. Because realistically, in a couple of years, we're going to lose, a few contracts, a few starting pitchers, and we're going to need to, replace them. Hopefully not spend money on a bad contract, and hopefully build from our minor league system for a change. So he could be one of those guys. Number 13. This might be a little controversial too. We have Kevin Kopps. We just have him outside the top 10 just because some of these guys that are in the top 10 that are, still teenagers, they have some crazy talent to them. They have some crazy ceilings, and we don't know where they're going to go. They're going to be debuting this year. And with Kevin Kopps, we kind of seen what his role's kind of going to be. I don't think he's going to be a starter. We think he's going to be that, he's going to be a multiple inning relief guy. But with his spring training, he has shown that he is good. His stuff will play at the MLB level. He might make the roster, he might not, but it's kind of for sure that he's going to make an impact this year with whatever he's going to do. He's a little bit older. I believe he's 25. He was, the pitcher of the year 2 years ago when he got drafted. Really good talent. We'll see him in the MLB shortly. At number 12, we have Joshua Mears. I know Isaac mentioned him in the last video. The guy hits bombs. If you need an example, look at last year's spring training. He hit a home run. I think it was at 111 miles an hour. An absolute rocket. Left the outfield within a few seconds. I don't think I've seen a ball hit harder than that in a long time. Guy's got some serious power. However, he doesn't hit for a lot of average. He strikes out a little too much, and he doesn't walk the most. However, he can be a great outfielder. If not, he's going to be a DH. And that spot's going to open up soon. He might be ready, though. I do want to see him get a little bit more for average, but man, can he hit the ball hard. At number 11, we have Uribiel Angeles. He's an infielder. If you haven't looked at his numbers, he hit over 300. He got on base a lot. He is an outfielder, I believe. He just has a lot of talent. He hits for average. He may not hit his power, but he gets on base a lot. And that's sort of what we need. And he's still a young guy. He has a lot of time to develop more power, to develop his tools a little bit more. And if you haven't looked at his stats, he has done nothing but hit in the minor league system. And he's kind of flown under the radar. And those guys that he might be blocked, he might not be. It depends on how well his bat continues to develop. There we go. That was continue to develop throughout the minor leagues. It's one of those things where he's going to be a guy that you really need to keep an eye out on, because he could crack his way into the top 10. But we'll see. There's a lot of talent in this system still through 20 through 11. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, kind of similar to last video. Some of these are notable guys. Brees Kinnear, we kind of had a feeling that one would be controversial. Let us know in the comments, obviously, but um, it's not like we're trying to knock him. It's obviously just our opinion, but we just don't know if he'll be a long-term guy for the Padres. Obviously, he's ranked a lot higher on MLB.com and whatever other prospect rankings there are because he's supposed to be ready this year and he's supposed to make an impact this year. It's just, of course, it's not that big of a sample size, but what we saw last year, we weren't exactly super encouraged. It's not like we were massively discouraged, but we just think he's a little too high considering a lot of these guys have a lot of talent in front of them. Rosario is kind of, Chase brought up, he doesn't have much power. Kind of reminds me of like a better Tucupita Marcano, who we traded for Adam Frazier. Getting some time this spring. I'm not sure how his spring stats look, but I'll have to check on that. Who else is there? Ethan Elliott. He's supposed to make an impact this year and next year. There's kind of a lot of pitching depth for the Padres right now, especially starting pitching. So maybe we won't see him until next year, but it's always good to have guys in the minors who are supposed to be ready because I mean, we've been struck by injuries these past 2 years in times where we couldn't afford to get struck by injury. So it's kind of nice to have somebody who's supposed to be ready who can make a start or two if needed. Kevin Kopps, a lot of people really like Kevin Kopps. I know a lot of when we asked on Twitter who's the most intriguing prospect outside of the guys like Abrams and Gore, when we asked that question, a lot of you, and I was surprised, a lot of you guys said Kevin Kopps. And I don't blame you guys. He's an older guy who we drafted and looked fantastic. I forgot where we went to school, Oklahoma? No, it was Oklahoma, Arkansas. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I know he looked fantastic. Of course, a lot of people want him up there this year. A lot of people think he can close. A lot of people think he can make a solid impact in a reliever role. Don't blame you guys. That's why he's higher on our list than he is on any of the other lists. So I think we have him placed pretty proper. For Joshua Mears, I mentioned he has the best power tool in the system. I think people would argue Onya, but Onya didn't play that much last year, whereas Mears hit missiles pretty continuously last year, and he looked really good in Lake Elsinore. So he put on some encouraging stuff. He put on some encouraging performances. So we have him at 11, 12, and I think that's a good spot for him too. Maybe people might think he's a little low, but it's looking good because the guy ahead of him, Uribe, I don't know if it's Angeles or Angeles. I don't know how he says it, but he put on he had some really good numbers last year in I forgot where he played, the Arizona League in Peoria, but he had some really good numbers last year. I think he hit over 300 at some point. He was like the player of the month, something like that. So he kind of stood out to us. He's young. A lot of these guys are young. We don't know how much of an impact they will have here soon. I think a lot of them are just going to be trade bait, to be honest. Like Angeles, like I don't know, Valenzuela, maybe Rosario for sure.
I
But
have
yeah,
his stats up if you want me to read them
yeah,
off.
go for it. Go for it.
So in 2021, he hit 329. He had a 392 on base percentage and a 445 slugging for a whopping 837 OPS between Lake Elsinore and Fort Wayne.
Yeah, so a lot of infield depth for this Padres team. Obviously, you already got Machado, Jake, and Tatis out there in the majors, and you got Abrams and Acosta, and you got Merrill. You got a bunch of infielders. So we don't know what's going to happen with this guy, but I'd assume trade bait, and if he sticks around, that's good. I think he's gonna make a lot of progress in the minors and show that he could be maybe not an everyday player, but a solid depth piece. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes from here. I'm excited for the top 10 prospects. I know everyone else is excited for the top 10 prospects because, I mean, we all love these guys that are up there.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a fun list though, because I think you see kind of where our list, like how we create our list, because a lot of these guys that people have higher, like Agee and Reese Kinnear, we have at 18 and 20. That's not super high. Like they're in the MLB's top 10 list, both of them. We have like 10 players ahead of each of them that aren't on the MLB.com list. So I feel like for us, and we've talked about this, I think, before, if not here, then on Twitter or in a live stream or somewhere, but we basically said, look, the way that we try to go through these top prospect lists are you're going to have a bunch of guys that are close to graduating that when it comes to MLB lists, I think Baseball America does this too. it's very, oh, this guy's about to graduate. We're going to give him a huge boost. And it's like, so you're going to tell me you're going to give the guy has a huge boost that might not have the tools over some dude that might be super young but has superstar potential. All of us are going to rock with the guys with superstar potential. So that's kind of how you see this get reflected. With that said, we have guys like Kevin Kopps who are high up there. He's older. He's ready to graduate. He's ready to make an impact. We also think he has good stuff. We also think he can be a back of the pen kind of guy. He can either be a setup man this year down the road. The bullpen is looking like it's going to be very formidable. So maybe he doesn't even get into that role, but he definitely has a future in that role. And he might play in the league for 8 years, but he might be great for 8 years. So like that's the thing where it's just kind of hard to kind of base it on that kind of stuff. I would say out of all of these guys, Daniel Montesino is the most intriguing player for sure, I would say, in this list, in our 11 through 20 list. I mean, this guy was an absolute monster last year in rookie ball. He had a 933 OPS, hit 316, 444 on base percentage, almost a 500 slugging. He is coming out of Venezuela. And then he just balled out. And like his power tool is 55. The big thing that's the question mark with him is he has major question marks defensively. However, guess what just got brought to the NL? The DH. So he can be a future DH first base kind of guy. He's not ready to be called up, but when you start looking to, and we don't know what's going to happen with Eric Hosmer, but say he's not moved. When Eric Hosmer is no longer a Padre, this guy could end up playing first base for the Padres, which is very intriguing. So he's a few years down the road, likely to be like 2025 kind of guy, but definitely an intriguing name there. And he's a guy that can climb way up if he keeps performing like he has been. I think another guy that we've brought up many times in the past, Brandon Valenzuela, catching prospect. If Luis Campusano is moved, Brandon Valenzuela is your top guy. We don't even have him that high, and I kind of feel bad putting him this low because I think he's really good. And I think you guys both think he's really good too. He last year in Lake Elsinore, he hit over 300. He had great numbers, over 800 OPS. He's a better, I would say, catcher than Luis Campusano is defensively. And then he moved up to Fort Wayne and he struggled a little bit. Well, it's kind of hard if you're a catcher to move to, and Chase, when we were talking about this before, Chase, you brought this up. It's hard as a catcher to move up and then start catching with a whole different group of guys and still keep your offensive numbers up while also going up against better pitching. So that regression is incredibly normal from a guy like that. And it's not like he was awful. He still hit over 240, still put up decent numbers. It's just not like top prospect worthy. But if he continues to have a good year, say he plays in Double A little bit this year and he looks really good, you're going to see him potentially rise into the top 10 on most lists. So another name to bring up there. I think a lot of these guys some of them are kind of close to being able to compete. I mean, Aggie Rosario, Reese Kinnear, I don't really know what their role would be on this team. Aggie already got sent down. He's a guy that absolutely rakes against lefties, but like, I don't really see the Padres being like, all right, yeah, we need a platoon infielder. That's not really what they need at all. They have a couple guys in the infield that can rake against lefties. So I don't know how much confident I am that he's going to end up playing for the actual team. I think that he's likely going to be a trade piece. Going through the list, though, Ethan Elliott, we brought up Adrian Martinez yesterday. Ethan Elliott, similar kind of mold. He's better, I would say. But we could also see him, if not this year, then likely next year. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys, a lot of potential here. You got a few guys that are really solid pitchers, really solid players. Chase, I know you really like Brian Medina. I know he struggled, but he has some pretty good tools. So we'll see how it all plays out with these guys. But a lot of them are 17, 18 years old. So we don't really know what the future holds. And that can be a bad thing, but that can also be a very good thing because a lot of these guys have ridiculous tools. And the Padres have gone after some international signings that people think very, very highly of. So I like the list overall. I think it's a pretty solid group. When you're looking at mid-tier guys, you don't see as many older names with like a lot of talent here. So I think that's kind of the knock on the Padres system right now. And it definitely makes sense. I mean, you see the guys we're listing, like most of them are super young. But anything else you guys want to add before we take off? All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. So tomorrow we will be doing our live stream in the evening. I'll post that sometime in the morning and we'll have it scheduled so you guys will be able to see that on YouTube likely to be like, around 5 o'clock. I think that's what we did last week. Probably the same thing. It was actually really fun last time we did it. We were only planning to go live for like 30 minutes last time. Me and Isaac were on. We went for like over an hour because we were just talking about like Marvel and Star Wars and random stuff for quite some time. And Isaac, I think we're gonna have to go over the questions that they asked all the players at spring training because that was super fun last time.
I was already planning on it. We're definitely doing it.
Yeah, that was awesome. So we'll be doing that when we do the live stream, and we're gonna keep doing live streams on Sunday. So something if you guys haven't joined, it's super fun to do. I would probably guess around 5 o'clock, if not exactly 5 o'clock, 5:30, something like that. So expect us to be live then, and then Monday we will drop the top 10, and then be doing a bunch of, season's about to start, just some stuff like some season preview stuff. Maybe we'll do a quick spring training recap if you guys kind of weren't following that as much. But I think it's going to do it for today's episode, and I'm pumped to do the live stream and the top 10 in the next couple of days. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll talk to you all very, very soon.